Hello, CAAMFest. My name is Thuy, and I'm CAAM's Festival and Exhibitions Director. You just watched the West Coast premiere of Leonor Will Never Die by writer and director Martika Ramirez Escobar. Martika is based in the Philippines and is unable to make it to our festival, so I'm so glad that we're able to record this Q&A with her. I'm going to bring her up in just a second. Hello, Martika. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm good. Thank you so much for watching our film. Thank you, Thuy, for inviting us at the CAAMFest.
Of course, we're so happy to have you, and we're so excited that this is the West Coast premiere of your film. I think let's just jump into it. So, Leonor is your first feature film, and wow, what a deliciously complex and layered first feature. And I know for most of our audiences, this is going to be their first time seeing your work. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in filmmaking.
Oh, no. A little bit more about myself. Okay. So I started filmmaking, I think, about a decade ago. So I came from a film school, and back then we would just like make a lot of student short films. So I guess that spirit of making student films is carried over to this film, which is really like a celebration of just making films and watching films all together. So yeah, I this is my first feature, and it took us like around 8 years to complete. And it's because like I kept on changing the idea throughout the 8 years, and it was really hard to like keep up at the age of the project. So eventually, like we were able to find the balance just this year, and luckily we were able to finish it. I never thought it would get finished, as you heard in the film. So yeah, that's the
Yeah,
backstory.
thank you so much, and congratulations again. Can you just can you share with us a little bit about why 8 years and what were some of the challenges that you were running into during that time?
No, like why 8 years? I think the big question is trying to overcome outgrowing the project itself, because
Mm,
we all change so quickly. And I used to like this the first version of the script, and then the year later I hated it. And when we edited the film, I didn't like it at first, and then my editor tried to find that connection again. So that's what took a lot of time, and also the financing, which is I think a struggle that every filmmaker
yeah.
faces. So it's also the type of film that isn't so commercial. So it was hard for us to find people who were willing to take risks in shelling out money for the film. So that's why it took 8 years.
Wow, thank you for sharing a bit of that background. And we'll jump a little bit more into the editing process and just more of the process later. But again, I wanted to congratulate you on this. You are coming in hot from Sundance, where you premiered Leonor Will Never Die, and you won the special jury prize for innovative spirit. And I wanted to let everyone know that this past weekend at CAAMFest, we announced that you are the winner of the Comcast Xfinity Narrative Competition Award. How does that make you feel to finally have your film out in the world and then to see it being recognized in such a public way?
Well, until today, it still feels surreal. I'm still in that zone where, like, is this film really going to happen? And now that it's getting more screenings and people like you are recognizing it, it just makes me feel like, oh, maybe it's a dream come true. And it's really something to have it screened in many places, because when we were making it, we really expected it to just be screened like in a small theater here just for us. We didn't really dream that big. So everything that's happening now is really a bonus for not just myself, but for the entire team and everyone who's behind it. Because I'm not sure if you felt it, but it's a really, I call it a tiny film, because it's
Mhm.
really mostly the work and time and effort of just the people behind it. And it's a lot of like, own
Mm.
funding as well. So it's a big passion project.
Absolutely. It definitely feels like a labor of love. And I can tell you and the production team put so much care and thought into the work, into every single process. I was wondering, maybe we can talk a little bit about the characters. So Leonor is such a rich character. We don't see too many dynamic roles created for older women, for example, especially here in Hollywood, where actors are basically obsolete once they hit 25, unless you're Meryl Streep. And so I was just wondering, why did you choose an aging filmmaker as your lead character? And how did you come to cast the indomitable Sheila Francisco?
Right. Why choose an old lady character? I don't know. It felt natural. I've always been interested with like old people because they seem wiser. It's like they existed longer than myself and they know more about the things I want to eventually discover about life and people. So I also like talking to my own grandma. She just like broadens up my perspective on many levels. A lot of times when I'm just like sad at home, I'm grumpy and like, why is the world so sad? And then my grandma just comes in and she tells me about her stories and how she sees the world. And suddenly I feel like, oh, I'm a changed person. So that is the type of person I want to build in Leonor, like a wiser, older lady who thinks that action films shouldn't just be led by macho action heroes, but a lady who looks at love and solve solution through tender solutions. So that's like the old lady connection and how I got Sheila Francisco as our lead. Um, we had a long casting process because I can't even describe how I cast, but usually it's if a person who's reading the script feels like a real person, that's like a good sign. So we had quite a number of actresses read the script and I met them in person. And when I met Sheila, she just sort of brought the character to life. When she read, I felt, oh, this is a real person. And she possesses all the qualities Leonor needed for the film, including the singing parts, because Sheila is a singer, a theater actress, so she's like perfect for the role. And the best part is that so we took her in, and then when we had the shoot, she's just the best ally you can have on set. She's like a friend more than a worker, so that's
Mm.
we're really lucky to have her.
Yeah, that's so important too. And I also recently learned that Sheila came from theater acting. She played Bloody Mary in the Rogers and Hammerstein uh, show, South Pacific. So, and is this Sheila's first role in film?
First lead role, yes.
First lead role. Okay, wow. And that must be so special for her to also be
Yeah.
working with you as well. Yeah, and I definitely saw that too, like just the tenderness that Sheila brought into the role of Leonor, and just the care. And I love the scene or where she's, the scene at the end where she's running into danger with a hammer held high, and there's just so much determination. And even though she's scared, you can tell, she cares so much about these characters and helping these characters. And so she really does kind of bring that nurture and tenderness, just to her role and in her care for these other characters. um, and speaking of these other characters, what was it like for you to work with the other actors, like Bon Cabrera, who plays Rudy, her son, and Rocky Solombides, who plays Ronaldo, or Anthony Falcon, the other Ronaldo the son? What was that like, and how did you find them?
Well, I'm thinking of a word to describe the whole experience of working with all the actors, and I think it feels like being in a playground. So you're just with all the people and you're trying things out, you're taking risks, you're collaborating, you're talking to them. So it was a fun experience in a sense that the set was always a safe space for all of us to explore creatively. So a lot of the scenes in the film were improvised.
Mm,
Rocky has this dance thing and I just told him that on the set itself. Like when we were about to take the shot, I told him to, "Uy, that Rocky, can you just like dance?" So they were all very open to this quite strange script because before even shooting, we had a briefing and they all shared with me what they thought of the script and they mostly said that, "Oh, it's weird," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is weird, but do you want to join?" And they're all very enthusiastic about it and on the shoot. it just things fell into place. And I always say this, that I feel that I'm very lucky to have the right mix of people, not just the cast, but the entire crew. We had a very joyful set throughout, even if we had so many struggles, so many tests and obstacles.
Yeah, yeah. And you also said that, throughout this process, you felt like you really bonded a lot too with your production team and your cast, and it felt like family.
Yes.
Again. Yeah. Um, and man, so regarding the process, how much of this, I'm curious to know, first of all, what your script looks like, just because there's just so many layers in this film. And so in regards to that, how much of this was written versus how much was decided in the editing process?
The script looks quite similar. I'd say 60 to 70%,
Okay.
but the dialogue changed a lot, and most parts in the last act are not in the film, are not in the script. So it was only when we couldn't find the right ending that we tried to rewrite the ending
Mm,
with the conversation actually appearing in the film. So, so the converse. Oh, okay. People who are listening have seen the film already, so it's fine to spoil things, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So, and in the ending, my conversation with the editor, that's our actual conversation, and even the suggestions of like, how do we end this film? What do we do? Do we shoot? Those are like real. At the time, we didn't know how to end the film, so we thought, why not just add our thoughts talking about how to end the film? So it came out of a struggle, but
Mm,
the script, um, yeah, it really changed a lot because when you first start, I'm not sure, but I think first time filmmakers will relate to this. When you write your first scripts, it's like you like feel like putting so many things on the script. You want to do so many things, and that's what I had before. So luckily, like through the years, it got trimmed down, and this is already the trimmed down version of the film. I don't know.
I think it works. All of it works, to be honest. Like even at the end, after Leonor gets shot, and then we get taken out of the film and into your real life, your conversation with your editor. You're eating pizza and you're just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth on what makes sense. Like that all made sense to me. And there's just an unpredictability in this entire film. Um, that was just so fun to watch, because I this film could have just gone in so many directions, and I was just drawn into it. Like, I had so much trust in you as a director. I was just like, I'm just, Martika, take the wheel. Like, just, I don't care where you take us, but I'm here on this ride with you. And so I just want to commend you on that. And it just felt like you made really strong and bold decisions in your direction, in the writing. And so it really reflected that. And so kudos to you. Like, this is your first feature. Your voice just comes out so strong. I mean, do you feel that so much of your decision was so visible? Like, are you happy with with those decisions?
Well, thanks for your really kind words. But I'm also the same as you. We were lost. I was lost the entire way. And it's only when people came in to try to help me, like,
Mm,
direct the film, that's when things fell into place. That's why I think it's important to find the right people,
mm.
the right allies who understand you and your work. And like what I mentioned, I'm super lucky to have them. That's why I guess the ideas in my head were able to like translate on screen. It's because there were people supporting it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely hear you on that, about finding people that you have collaborative chemistry with. And
Yes, that's a
even
term, collaborative chemistry.
Yeah, and even I'm thinking about that scene where you're just shooting the shit with your editor and throwing around ideas. Like this is how it happens. It's in these moments when you're just like chilling on a rooftop in the Philippines eating pizza. You're like, okay, what are we gonna do next? Like I think you need to have that familiarity and trust and comfort with the people you're working with in order to, come up with, the best directions for a solution for a problem. But I think it does show, that you had that with your team. Um, so I was also wondering, how has this film been received in the Philippines? I know that, of course, Sundance and now CAAMFest, but yeah, what has the been has bleh. What has been the response like in the Philippines?
It hasn't been screened in the Philippines yet, and my team hasn't even seen it on the big screen because we made the film. We had post production during the pandemic, and even myself, when we had our premiere at Sundance, we have never seen it on a big screen. We were editing the sound design in a room my sound designer's room. We were doing grading at the smaller room, so it wasn't. We never saw it in a big scale, and as for the general audience in the Philippines, we just have plans right now on screening, but no definite plans yet. I'm afraid of just screening this film and having no one watch it. That's
Mm,
why I keep on delaying it. I think getting it out there would probably make it sound more appealing to watch when it finally screens here. So that's what we're trying to do right now.
mm,
Um, yeah, I'm sure you understand. Since it's an independent film, low budget, we don't have like the big superstars here in the Philippines. So most likely, if we screen it here, I'm not sure, but maybe it's just my friends and relatives who will watch. I don't know. I'm just afraid of that. So no plans yet, but definitely this year.
yeah, and I remember one of our other conversations when we talked, you said that I would like to hear more about a little bit about that fear, about why you're afraid. I know earlier you said that this film isn't the typical commercial film that is played in the Philippines. Can you share more a little bit about that? And like what are people in the Philippines used to watching?
I think it's the same everywhere else. They love Hollywood films. I love Hollywood films also, but when you need to pick one among a list of films, they would usually go to that. And cinema tickets are quite expensive. It's a luxury right now, so since we're not so rich, like there are other priorities, and this film would probably be down the list of the priority of
Mm,
things to like watch and do. So yeah, and if they're watching local films, it's still studio films, genre films, with stars.
mm,
So you really can't tell, and a film like this is a risk to be screened. But I've been told that as long as you strategize it, you'll find the right audience. I don't know yet because I haven't tried. So I think it's more of like finding the right people and the right venue, even if it's not a lot of screenings, probably one or two, but in the right cinema and the right time. So probably an event screening here.
absolutely. And I really do hope you'll find the right audiences. I mean, I think, again at Sundance and at Camp Fest, it was one of those films for me, at least I saw it and I just like was just so drawn to it. So how do you think we in America can help support you and get this film out there? And because I know in the Bay Area there's some large Filipino and Filipino American community who have a lot of family and relatives in the Philippines, and I'm sure they're gonna they're gonna tell their friends and family about this.
Ah, thank you. Well, just talk about the film, and I think like the last quarter we're going to have a theatrical release in the U.S. So no definite cinemas yet, but for sure, probably somewhere near it will be screened in a theater, and it will be available online. I think next year. So please support it if you feel like watching a strange film that isn't so difficult like to watch.
Absolutely. And one final question for you, Martika. So, even though this film blends reality and fiction so well, I feel like so much of this film is also reflective of your experiences living in the Philippines. And also, in one of our other conversations, we had talked about one of the themes in this is really being your own hero and writing your own script. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Um, when I ponder on it, I think it's because this film is a result of a big existential crisis. Because as a young filmmaker, I would often ask myself, is this really what I want to do? There's
Mm,
no money here, there's no future here, but it's what I enjoy doing the most. So, and I think it's more about acting upon what you want to do tomorrow or in the next years, and what for you is a meaningful life. So that's why I keep on reiterating the idea of like writing your own stories, because I think we can all, I mean, we're being written by other forces, but we still have that power to change the direction of things, and that's something I want to be reminded of in life.
absolutely. And of course, like recently, with the elections in the Philippines, with Marcos Jr. being elected, like I feel like this message is even more important now for the
Yes,
people in the Philippines.
it is. And that's why I feel that this film is quite timely as well. It also shows that when you're together and you have good intentions, good things can happen. And there are many people in the Philippines who want a better future, and we're all working together to, you know, change what is currently happening.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely. It's
Yes.
not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again, Martika. We're out of time, but again, thank you so much for doing this amazing Q&A with us. Um, how can we continue to follow your work, or if we want to learn more about your upcoming projects?
You can watch out for updates of the film on IG. I think it's at a banner here. Oh
Okay.
yes, there. And I also have an IG that doesn't have a lot of things, just cinematography stuff. But I also post updates there for future projects. I hope there are future projects. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you again, Martika, for sharing this beautiful, amazing film with us. Honestly cannot wait to see what you do next. Yeah.
Thanks, Thuy.
Yeah. And audiences, you have one more day of films at CAAMFest. Make sure you go on caamfest.com to check out the rest of our programming. So for our last day, Sunday, May 22nd, we'll be at the New Parkway Theater in Oakland.
Can you like release this as a whole clip?